So Craig got us, that's his original seat, which he doesn't want. This is, I don't know what it's called, I'd call it a little bobber seat. But that's your seat T, and obviously they're your original bolt holes, there and there, that wide.
Yeah.
This one is there and there, so I'm going to have to chomp these down, put 3 holes in, because he wants to use this seat. That's the mounting kit for it, and that. They're your spacers I found that I had in over there. So they're correct, and that's your stud kit. I'll parkerise all this up. So that's your fixing kit for that. That's got nothing to do with it. Right, so that's his one seat he wants for riding solo as such, yeah?
Yeah.
And then we've got a buggy seat that he got, which is all of this lot. But I've never fitted one, hands up, haven't got a clue, never done one. So it's just a matter of, I couldn't work out why it didn't look right when it was on there. So, investigation work. This is parts book from 1949, but more of a big twin parts book. So 37, 49, 61 inch, 74 inch and 80 cubic inch. This is a parts book from 1954, but it also does 45s, which is what we're trying to fit this to, yeah?
Okay.
That's your WLA book. So cross-referencing everything. So you can see that all of these mounts are not the same as this, which is big twin, yeah? That's completely different setup. But this parts book, because it does 45s as well, gives you those parts there and there. So we know, and looking at that, that is correct for a 45.
Right.
Not correct for a big twin. So that's all good. We know that's right. The way this was put together, this originally, because I've taken it apart, had these double bolted onto there, onto the bottom clips, and the seat T only bolted on that front bolt hole on the base of the seat, which is wrong. As well, I was saying it looked wrong. It was all hanging off the back, really weird. So I found a picture here. That's a 1946 WL. So that shows you your clamps where they go on the rail, yeah, on your top fork tube of the back, yeah. Now these clips aren't the same as those. They're big twin clips, just with the one notch in them. These have got 2 notches in them, which it shows you in there. And the way this was all bolted together, that shows, look, that you've got spacers in there between the seat base and your seat T. So I've put the spacers in here and here, so you've got a gap there, yeah? I might have to put that on top of there actually, I think, looking at that. I think I might have done that the wrong way round. Yes, I have. That's alright though. So the clips go on top of those. So we'll change that over in a minute. So that's right. It's all in the right place now, but these clips are wrong for a 45. They're only used on a big twin. But we haven't got any more, so we'll have to use them, yeah?
Okay.
Now the other different bit, that originally went in there for a big twin, but you can see that the hole in that and that doesn't line up.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, what the hell's going on with that? So that has to come out, and then I found this picture, which is 45 solo buddy seat mounting arrangement. Note the auxiliary seat T-spring clips are completely different from the big twin clips, which is what we were just saying, yeah? those clips. Note the 2 clamps at the front of the seat T used to adapt a buddy seat to a 45. So instead of having that there, see those 2 holes there? Instead of having that in there, it has those 2, and they list only for a 45. So it was all a bit of a rigmarole trying to work out what's what.
Crikey.
But I got there in the end. It's just studying the pictures, because like none of that matches. That matched, but none of that was the same, and then I found that picture. So that explains why it's a different on a 45. Because you put it on there and there was a big gap between the seat and the tank. It just looked stupid. I know I've got to make those. I'm not too worried about that at the moment, just to hold that in. Yeah,
You've done well to work it out, to be honest.
yeah, it was well, it's only looking at pictures, isn't it? But I didn't know what we had to start with. So basically it was really lucky, because those mounting points, I mean, I think he bought that separately from the buddy seat, so they're definitely for a 45. That goes there.
So the idea of a buddy seat obviously is for the passenger, but when it's not in use,
You can take this seat off, and then that, I'll show you when we put it all on, goes and just clips in out the way.
right.
But it's all going to have a bearing on what we're doing with the exhaust system and stuff like that, because you want a high-rise exhaust.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be unclamping that every time you want to change your seat. I mean, to change the actual seat, it's just push a pin out and take a bolt out. So that's easy. Right. That's better, that's not under as much tension there now. So I've got to make 2 brackets to go on there. They're the original bits that were the extensions on there. So what I'll probably do is make a former, because I should have a dent in them. And by the time they're pressed, there's one underneath, one on top. And then you're using original Harley bits then, aren't you?
That's it.
Well, you're not going to fit it to a big twin, so it doesn't really matter. Oh, that's heavy. Centralise that. Right, that's your seat bolt in. So then you've got your little pin that holds it, so that just lift up and down. He goes in there. So that's your pin in there. So that's just loose because of that, but your seat's obviously sprung in the seat post, yeah?
Yeah.
Right, so those go forward towards the front of the bike. It goes on that way. Right, so that holds in there. They go upwards. Now I've got no idea where any of this should go. I did have a quick measure up, but when I thought about it, it shows these about here, but that would depend on the length of your seat post.
True.
So it looks sort of fairly good there, and you can adjust the springs on, because the thread goes all the way up to there, look. So we could make that bar go down further in there, and then let that come up the frame a little bit more. Right, so what I did, because you want to try and get it roughly in the right place, obviously it's got to clip into that bit on the mudguard in a minute. So I found that's your 46 WL, yeah? So we want to scale off to work out where that bracket is, yeah? So if you look at that, that's our lug on the frame, they're all the same. So that's 10 mil on the drawing, yeah? So if we go 10, 20, right, we're looking at 30 mil. So 3 times the width of that, yeah? Takes us to the edge of that. So 1, 2, 3. So that takes us to the front edge of that.
Okay.
And you've got 35. So 1, 2, 3. So we are about 15 mil past the end of that. So let's put a little mark on it.
I like the way you've done that.
What's that?
That's kind of logical.
What, scaling off?
Yeah, in a really crude way, but
Yeah.
it gives you a guide.
So we now know that the front edge of that bracket wants to be there.
Okay.
Sometimes if you've only got pictures to go by, you can only go with what you got, you know? I'll leave all these bolts as they are because they're originals. All 1035 CP, so... Right, so we've got bracket to the top, spring to the bottom. Okay, there's our mark. Alright, so there's our mark. Looks about upright, doesn't it? Obviously I've got to check and see if this has all got spring washers and stuff on it, but at the moment we're just getting an eyeball, yeah? That spring's hanging straight down, look.
Yeah.
And that one's off at some weird angle, isn't it? So the spring's become unwound. So we might be able to bend that back in. Let's have a look and get this nipped up. Yeah, that spring's unwound itself. Might be able to do that in the vise later. I'll have a look and see. If you look at the other one, it goes full coil. So your spring goes full coil.
Oh yeah.
And it's just in line, yeah? This probably hasn't moved since about 1940 something. Ooh.
Bit easier than you thought.
It was a lot easier than I thought.
So what you got here then? What's this tool?
A die. You get taps and dies. Taps for internal holes, dies for external threads. So we know what the thread is. I'll just work that out.
How did you work that out?
I eyeballed it because I've done it a billion times, but
if you hadn't done it a billion times, how would you work it out?
thread gauge. So you know you're working in imperial because everything on a Harley is imperial, not metric. So it's called TPI. That's teeth per inch. So you measure the diameter of that, which I know is 7/16 of an inch, but if you're worried about it, measure the diameter, yeah?
Yeah.
So then you get your thread gauges, 18, 16, 14, 12, they're all written on them, yeah? What you do is you offer these up. See, that one fits in there perfectly, yeah? So that's 20. If you go to one the other way, that's 19. Look, it physically won't go down into it.
Right, yeah.
And that's 1 tooth difference per inch.
Yeah.
So then you know you're looking for a 7/16 by 20 TPI die.
Okay.
And they've all got them written on them, look. Can't hardly make it out on that one because it's such small writing, but 7/16 by 20. Yeah. So you know you've got the right die to clean the threads out. Nice dribble of cutting fluid.
So all this is doing is running through the channels of the thread.
Yeah, just cleaning everything out.
Why'd you put cutting fluid in there?
Just helps it move.
What's that, like a lubricant, is it?
Yeah, cutting lubricant.
Where's all the debris going?
Inside those holes in the die, look. That's so you can collect all your waste, look, and it's falling out the backside here. Surprising how tight you can make it just with painting the threads, you know. If you don't do it now, you'll never do it again. And then if Craig needs to adjust anything, then it's all adjustable, isn't it?
Mm.
Right, that'll do us.
Oh, a bit different.
Yeah, that's why you do it.
Yeah.
Plenty of goo. So one cut's external, that cut's internal, yeah? Bit goo, don't want a lot.
Same idea basically is.
Yeah, just one does external, one does internal. That's them cleaned out. So now, we put that down through our springs. Okay, our lockers on the bottom. It probably should be under a bit more tension and that. I'll probably bring it down another ½ inch or something when we assemble it finally. Right, so now, so that's your basic setup. So if you wanted to ride solo, even with the buddy seat,
Yeah.
we put the clip on here in a minute, you just push that out of the way and it clips in under there, as far as I can make out.
Okay.
But we know the 3 holes are in there, so we'll pop the back wheel out and I can just drill up through one for the moment. So once I've sussed this lot out, it's build the gearbox and I can just start whacking it together then. Right, you see those 3 dimples there? 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
They're the original rack mounting bolts. So that, looking at it, is exactly the same as a rack mounting bolt.
Yeah.
So you put your rack on and put that on afterwards. So if we drill one of those out for the time being, yeah?
Okay.
Just to see where we can get it. Right, so from what I can gather, if you're riding with a passenger, you put that on, yeah?
Yeah.
If you want to ride it solo and still leave this seat on, unclip that and you clip that in there. So then you can remove that seat and that just stays there. Obviously that, if we bring those springs up a bit, that'll tension that back into there.
Yeah.
So we'll do that and then that'll give us a little bit more ride height. Obviously that's gone all wonky because that spring's not right, but once we straighten that out.
Yeah.
So as far as I can make out, obviously that's got to have more tension on it, which we can do. And that's it. You just clip him back in when you want to go, 2 of you. Yeah, funny looking things, aren't they?
So without that rear support, you wouldn't have it.
It would just bottom out all the time.
Yeah.
So your spring post, your seat post would just keep banging down. So that's just a
Extra bit of suspension
extra bit
to
of suspension, yeah.
keep the support.
Just an auxiliary.